One. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to RVing in New England. And as you can see, our guest tonight is Chris Dougherty, back again for one of our more popular shows.
Wait. You can't see me?
Well, see,
you can only see Chris.
I knew if I started that way, he'd complain because he wasn't number 2 on the totem pole. But yes, John is with us tonight. Yes.
Well, thanks so much for recognizing my presence here.
That's true.
Yeah, we're going to say that's the least you can do, right?
least you can do on a Wednesday evening. Chris, how you been? Haven't seen you for a while.
It has been a while since open house, I think. Doing well, keeping busy over here in Springfield. So doing nicely. You guys look like you're doing well also.
Been busy ever since September. It seems like we've been on the road and bouncing around between Elkhart and Hershey and Germany and Las Vegas for the RVDA show. And it's
is that where we saw you last, Chris, in Elkhart?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we meant to get together here during the fall, but between our schedules, I don't think it ever, really happened. So now the holiday is about to change to 2020.
That's right. And I was with somebody in Elkhart, and he said their campaign for next year is Vision 2020. I said, well, that's not really too original. There'll probably be 2 million other people.
Can you get a little more original than that?
A little tagline. Mark Polk has joined us.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Good evening, gentlemen. Mark, what do you got for weather down there? Because we're supposed to go into the deep freeze here tonight.
Coldest night of the year tonight.
I think what 10 minus 10 wind chill.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I think they said I heard a -9.
Yeah. We were out. I had to take half a day off today. We had about 1.5 inches of ice here. And so it took us a lot. I super salted everything. I was chopping and shoveling. And of course we had, meetings with the Trailer Life and Motorhome teams this afternoon. And they're all in California, in Texas, Palm Springs, LA, Oxnard, whatever. And, oh yeah, it's so cold here. It's 60 degrees. And I'm like, laugh it up.
Hey, Chris, before I forget, you just brought something up, and I want to ask you this question because 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went up to Ontario, and we took the Mass Pike out to the New York Thruway and up 81. But during the whole time, it was a Friday night 2 weeks ago. It was a minor storm, but there were salt trucks everywhere. And we saw on Saturday a high number, maybe 40 or 50 RVs that were heading south on I-81. I'm presuming they were Canadians that were heading to Florida for the winter.
Yes, what you were witnessing is the migration of the snowbirds.
Correct.
And you go down to Florida, and I go down for testing usually the end of February, beginning of March, and there are quite a few Canadian folks down there. Always good to catch up and see some of them. But
okay. Yeah. But my question is a technical question, and this is where you come in. They heavily salt the roads in Syracuse, in New York State. They heavily salt them in Canada. I'm sure they salt them a lot in Pennsylvania and West Virginia and everything all the way down. What should an RV owner do if they've taken their unit out and had it subjected to salt?
Wash it.
My presumption is that is deadly.
Yeah, the frames, especially on trailers, but the saddle frames on motorhomes are usually some kind of steel tubing, or it's just basically plain old pig iron on the trailers where you have the I-beams or C-channel and different things like that. That has a very basic paint job on it, and so they will rust quite a bit. In fact, my last trailer, that was something that I was working on a lot because I take it down south every winter, and so I try to wash it when I get down there. So I'll do it this year. I'll go to a truck wash, like the Blue Beacon truck washes, and I'll tell them make sure you spray underneath and get the frame and best you can. And then, if you're doing that, then you've got to go and spend some time under there. So when the weather's better, go under, clean it the best way that you can, scrape any loose stuff off, and then put a really good high quality rust preventive paint on there. Rust-Oleum, gloss black works very well. If it's down to bare metal, you can use a rust stop primer first and then paint it.
Yeah, I saw somebody put a video on, and then I put the video on too because I did it myself.
You had that video with the little sprinkler,
right?
Want to say hello to Walter Swenson?
Put that sprinkler on there.
Yeah, Walter's up there. Ed Laturco's back. You've been off for a couple of weeks, Ed. Glad to have you back. And Mrs. Polk has just joined us, and Jerry Plant from Cape Cod. And Mark says it's 51 today in North Carolina.
Hey, we didn't even get 15. No, we got 20.
No, it got above freezing today, at least out here.
Yeah, well, you're out in the west.
That's right.
We're in the high. We're in the high areas. So you know what? Bob has asked Chris to come on because Chris has seen so many units in the past few months that some of us regular people that aren't involved in the media, or at least the technical media like Chris is, that maybe those units would be available at shows. And Bob, wasn't that one of the reasons we wanted to get Chris on board in order to talk about what we should be looking for at shows next month at this time?
Yeah, there's so many new things out there, and whether they be accessories or maybe unique floor plans. One of the places, and Chris sent me over a couple of covers, but one of the places to start, and this is still one of their more popular publications. Why don't you tell us about this and the origin and what people can find with just this particular magazine, Chris?
Mm-hmm. So the RV Buyer's Guide is, an annual publication that Good Sam puts out. And we've been doing it for a number of years. I'm not exactly sure how long, certainly longer than I've been at the company. And I remember seeing them on shelves many, many years ago.
Well, there used to be two of them. They used to do a trailer life one and a motorhome separately. Yeah. Then they combined them and made it the RV Buyer's Guide.
Yep. And so this is a great thing to pick up if you're shopping for a new RV. This includes pretty much all the manufacturers that are out there. And you're not going to see necessarily every single floor plan that's in there, but you're going to see all the models. And it's going to give you a great starting point to thumb through, look at different rigs, see their specifications and some of their features. And it gives you a good starting point for beginning your research. So this is great. And we have this available. It already shipped, I believe. So it should be going to like your Barnes and Nobles and Camping World and Gander stores and so on. It's also available online, so you can order it.
Yeah, I checked Barnes and Noble earlier this week. It's not there yet. Jerry Plant brought up a good point. We should get it in here early. There was an announcement today from AT&T that they're canceling the Togo plan. They had that special $350 plan. Mm-hmm. Any feedback on that? Was it too popular, or were they giving away to the store?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't. It's funny because we just finished installing one of those for a install project for Trailer Life. I have not spoken to the folks at Togo. I did speak to the folks over at Weingard. Got an email from them, and so as I understand it, the Togo unit was sold. It's basically the same thing as the Weingard product, except that it was locked down. You couldn't go in it, and it was restricted to just using the AT&T card, and that was part of the deal so that you could get the better priced internet. I don't know why they made the change, and I'll try to find that out for sure. But what Weingard's telling me is that they are going to be allowing consumers to unlock the units. You'll still be able to use the Togo app and the Weingard app on it. But if you connect with a computer, you'll be able to actually, there is a login screen for the device. So the Weingard model, you're able to manually go in and set it up with your computer. The Togo unit, you can only use their app. Now it'll be unlocked. You'll be able to unlock it. They'll give you what you need to do that. And so you'll be able to change the SIM card and use whatever plan you want to. They did announce a new different number of tiers for service for AT&T if that's something you want to do. But if you haven't gotten one yet and you want the $360 for a year of unlimited internet, you have until January 16th to sign up for it. So if you want to get in on that, that's good. You want to hurry to do it.
Walter also says oil spray frame. This goes back to the conversation about preventive maintenance before you hit the salty roads. Oil spray the frame before you drive in the salt.
Yep.
And Lisa Warren joined us from Texas. So I don't know if we want to. I don't know if we really want to ask Lisa what the temperature in Texas is.
No, my friend said he was all upset because in Houston it went from 80 to 50 the other day.
Terrible. We don't.
I said you don't want to hear my response to that.
Yeah,
but
Chris, I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
You brought up a very important word before when you were talking about the buyer side. You said floor plans. A lot of people, I don't think, realize the value of the proper floor plan for your family.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, Jason and Lisa Cole and their 2 kids may need a totally different floor plan than someone who's just 2 people that are retired that don't have kids or grandkids. How important in the selection of the proper unit, again, before going to the show, how important is it should you know what type of floor plan you look for rather than go through 120 units to try to figure out which one is best?
Well, and those are some of the questions that you kind of have to ask yourself when you're going to go shopping for an RV. So what are you going to use it for? How many people are going to sleep in it? How often are you going to use it? Are you going to do a lot of dry camping, or you just go to parks with full hookups? Do you are you a weekender with maybe a 2-week trip a year, or are you going to be doing more long-term travel? And then once you kind of narrow that down, then you can say, okay, if we've got a family of 4, what are we as a family happy with? So does everybody want their own, dedicated bed, for instance? Or if I buy a trailer and the dinette and the couch flip open for sleeping quarters, is that adequate? Or, can the 2 kids share a cab over bunk in a Class C, that type of thing? And so you want to look at those things. How big a kitchen do you need? Obviously, the more people that you have along, the more cargo carrying capacity you're going to need, the more space you'll need in your kitchen for not only doing prep, but also for storing product, having a larger fridge, for fresh food and frozen storage, that type of thing. So that's all important stuff to look at. And as you look at units, you'll sort of get an idea as to what's available. And then you can kind of narrow those down into a price point that's good for you. And, if you're going to be using a towable, what can you tow? How much can you tow? And kind of put all those pieces together and you'll narrow it down pretty well.
Now, you talked about kitchen. Are outdoor kitchens still the going rage, or is that kind of
very popular? Yeah. Hugely popular. And you know what? It's very interesting. Some of the smaller trailers, like Intech, Tim's RV up in Irving, he sells the Intech trailers. And I don't know who else in New England is, but I've been spending some time up there. And they have these small kitchens that slide out from these trailers, and they've got the Dometic electric cooler
in the back,
and sometimes it's in the back, and sometimes it's in the front. It depends on the model. So they're starting to use these different appliances in different outdoor kitchen configurations. Recently, Keystone did a big unveiling of a Montana for that a blogger had designed, and she had done 2 outside kitchens. One even had a pizza oven. So it's, with a cooler and whatnot. So there's a lot of different ideas that are being floated out there. And it's one of the things I bring up in our February issue of Trailer Life is that, the manufacturers are really starting to look outside the box with their designs. People that I talk to, they're going, even in some cases, to outside designers to come up with new floor plans and new ways of being able to build a production trailer that's properly balanced and, within weights and things like that, but has new different types of amenities in them. Some of them are open floor plans. You'll have 3-level fifth wheels and things like that. There's just a lot of out of the box thinking right now, which is pretty exciting. It's good stuff to see.
Go back to the, is that the February issue? I don't have the dates on them.
No, that one is, I believe, December. And that is a Montana that we tested along with the 2020 Chevrolet 2500 diesel. We got one before they were released. Chevrolet sent it down, and it's actually matched very well to that Montana. It's all within spec.
It's interesting you say that. Interesting you say that. When I saw that today, I looked at that real quick and said the truck is too small.
Nope.
That's a big truck.
That is a big truck, and it is a short bed. So we have the proper hitch in the back, but it is well within its specs. And there, I mean, we're towing basically an empty trailer. We have it, watered up and stuff, but it's not loaded like you would if you were going out. But we actually got a lot of people asking us about that, and so we've addressed that in the next issue. In the February issue, I spelled out exactly what the specs of the trailer and the truck are again, and we couldn't get the specs on the truck ahead of time because it was locked down. But I said to the folks at GM, I said, look, I'm glad we're getting this, but this is the trailer. I got the specs in the trailer from Keystone that we were going to put behind it, and I said it's got to be able to tow this with room. It's got to be, set up for this. And they said, yeah, no problem. And so they picked that truck and sent it to us.
Well, you mentioned short bid, and for those of us that haven't towed fifth wheels or somebody thinking about it, why would somebody want the short bed versus the long bed other than maybe money?
No, actually, it's I think most people, especially if they go for the 4-door crew cab like you see there, like to have the shorter bed because it's easier to park, it's easier to get around. If you're buying the truck primarily for towing a larger fifth wheel, I think it cuts back some features that you really want. I know, especially in the Ford, when you go to the 4-door with the 8-foot bed, you get a much larger fuel tank, so your range between fuel stops is a lot bigger. But if you look at the January issue, which has actually has my truck on it.
I thought that was your truck.
Chris,
Chevy, now the one, the Solitude test that we did.
Yeah. I thought that looked like yours.
Bob Livingston did this test, and that truck is a challenge to park sometimes. It's long, so I'm usually out in an outer part of a parking lot, and I'm taking 2 spaces, lengthwise.
Bob brought up an excellent point a moment ago when he said matching the truck to the unit. And we could probably do an entire show on making sure that your truck is powered enough to handle your unit. Is there one point that people, if they're only to learn one point about matching, what would you be able? I'll give you 2. What would be the 2 top points to consider when matching a truck to a trailer?
It's hard to narrow it down to 2, okay? But and we have articles. If you go to trailerlife.com, there's articles we've done about weighing your trailer and matching a truck and a trailer, that type of thing. Those are all there, and we still do them in the magazine once in a while. But if you're out, let's say you're going to the shows coming up, right, and you're new to RVing, you don't have a truck, you don't have a trailer yet, you're gonna pick them up, and start your voyage with that. Pick your trailer first, and then once you've done that, match your tow vehicle to that trailer. So you want to be able to not only be able to tow it as far as your towing capacity, but also your cargo capacity is very important. Every trailer, whether it's a tow behind and especially fifth wheels, add a lot of weight to the back of the vehicle. So you need to know that you're within the cargo capacity as well as the towing capacity of the vehicle.
Bob, there's 2 excellent questions there from both Jerry and Mark, but I know just before even Jerry put that up, I know when I was down at Majors not too long ago in the fall, there was an issue where somebody was trying to realign their fifth wheel hitch, and Jerry said it best. They changed the harness points around so that some of the hitches didn't fit the trucks or whatever it was. But I mean, that's also another very, very vital point to get, right?
So this was interesting. So we get the truck there, and I have a couple of fifth wheel hitches. I have, a couple of regular hitches that we use when we do the testing event in Elkhart every August. And so the truck arrives, and we go looking at it, and we're like, oh boy, I think we're in trouble. And so we actually didn't have a Chevy one anyway. So the guys from Polaroid came over, and we were going to put a fifth wheel hitch in the unit. And they realized pretty quickly that, Chevy changed, or GM, because it's both trucks, changed.
GMC and Chevy, yeah.
So, but
describe what that is, though.
So you can order a truck, and if you're going to get or buy a truck that has the puck system and a gooseneck hitch already built in, and I very strongly recommend that if you're going out to get a truck, you do this. You get the one with the pucks in it, because it makes installing a fifth wheel hitch very, very easy. And when you take the hitch out, you put the little plastic plugs back in, and your bed is completely flat.
Let me stop you for 1 second, because I look over and I see a lot of like Walter and Mark and Jerry. They're all experienced people, but for somebody who's watching this show for the first time that doesn't know what a puck is, explain that to our audience.
Okay. So when you put a fifth wheel hitch in the back of a truck, you have to have some kind of attachment point that attaches the fifth wheel hitch to the frame of the truck. That's your structure. So the frame, you think of the frame of a truck as like a tractor. So the main strength is in the frame, and the powertrain is all on the frame, and that's what's giving you your strength and your power. Okay. And so you have to have some way of attaching this hitch to the frame. What the truck manufacturers are doing, and all the in the three Ram, Ford, and GM are all have puck systems that go in, and basically what they are is the attachment point is built into the frame from the factory, and they each have a little bit different design, but you can buy a fifth wheel hitch. It's designed for them, and basically you take the base plate of the fifth wheel hitch, and there's all different designs. You take it over, you line it up, drop it into the pucks, which are just these little circles on the bottom, and they have a locking mechanism, and you just basically turn the locks, and it locks it into place, and you pin it, and you're done. And when you remove the hitch again, it allows the entire bed to be used. So there's a lot of different manufacturers out there. Polaroid again is one, and with that puck system, they also include the center puck, which is for a gooseneck hitch. Now, gooseneck hitch is generally used by the agriculture business and some like landscapers and construction people. And that's a heavy duty ball that goes right in the center of the unit. And so what we ended up doing with this is they went and got one of their fifth wheel hitches that actually attaches to the gooseneck. And we had the ball. And so they brought the hitch out, and they brought their engineer out, and he measured and did all the study of the truck. So before we left, they had a design done for the new GM trucks before they were even released, which was they were probably the first ones to market with a fifth wheel hitch puck system for the new GM trucks. But yeah, they changed it from 19 to 20. So if you had a 2019, you have to get a new base plate for your fifth wheel hitch.
I don't understand Mark's question. It shows you how technical I am. But he says, Chris, a truck manufacturer is still using J2807 ? I mean, really testing by the standard.
As far as I know, they are. They all signed up and have been testing to that standard. But I honestly have not done that much work on the J2807. So our automotive editor, Chris Hemer, is very good with that stuff.
And I think it's safe to say that neither Bob and I think it would be safe to say that neither Bob and I know what a J2807 even is.
No clue.
So Society of Automotive Engineering or Engineers has a book of standards for a lot of different things in vehicles. And this is a standard for testing so that all three vehicle manufacturers are determining towing capacity and weight rating capacity in the same way. So the tests are done the same way, the designs are done the same way. And this comes out of a time when there was some question as to how accurate the auto manufacturers were in reporting their capacities. And if you've noted in the last couple of years, especially the big three have been on this race to have a light duty truck or medium duty truck that can tow more than anybody else. And so now they're up to 35,000 pounds towing capacity. You'd be probably pretty hard pressed to be able to get a trailer on there that's 35,000 pounds just because of the pin weight. So the cargo capacity of the truck would be stretched pretty thin with, something that big, but who the heck knows, if you balanced it right, you could probably get away with it. But they've been on this race, the weight race for a while now. And
wow, amazing. Which leads us to a few minutes beyond our normal break time, but Bob, should I go into our share?
Yeah, do that. I'm going to just look over the
okay, yeah. And Gary's got another question too. But what we want to do is take a little break right now and say thank you so much for spending time from your busy day, regardless of whether you're watching us live or whether you'll be watching us on delay over the next few days. But we want to ask you to very kindly look somewhere on your screen, and there's a button that says share. Just hit that button that says share, and share it with other people that are interested in RVs or other people that you think might be, but aren't yet into the RV lifestyle. And through the help that you all provide, we're able to reach, I think we're up around 7,000 with Janine's piece.
Yeah, you hit just about 7,000. Yeah.
About 7,000 people.
Yep.
And the thing is, you know what? Some of the material even that we're going over tonight for the veterans might be a little bit redundant, but when you're talking about issues of weight, when you're talking about cargo carrying capacity and that type of thing, these really are life and death issues that if you don't hook up properly, the consequences can be fatal. And it's always nice to have Chris with us because he actually knows what he's talking about. He's done this work. He's worked at dealerships, and now he's able to utilize his vast background of knowledge with people all over the world.
Speaking about dealerships, we got Randy Murray on, Director of Training up at Pete's RV. Hey, Randy. Glad to see you. And Jerry says they changed the in-bed factory pucks to connect the fifth rail hitch to, which is what
we were just talking
about. Yep. And he says Demco makes an adapter for industry standard rails. What does that mean, Chris?
What I am
now back to our regularly scheduled program.
You know what? That I'm not 100% sure, but my guess is that it's just an adapter to go to whatever. Use your fifth wheel hitch or their fifth wheel hitch.
Yep.
With the different puck systems.
Yeah, I'm sure Jerry will tell us before the night.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Yeah, if you got Jerry, if you got a little info on that, it'd be very interesting.
And don't forget, folks, to register for our contest later on. I will show you the two. We got our first 2-week winners. So register once. You're eligible for all 8 weeks up to the show to win the 4-pack of tickets.
And where are they going to go to register, Bob?
Huh?
Where are they going to go to register?
We'll post the contest link. It's all you got to do is on the top of our Facebook page, go to the cover photo and click on the cover photo. It brings you right to the contest page. It mentions the contest up in the cover photo at the top of the page. Chris, I want to change topic a little bit.
Sure.
We've been doing a lot of sneak peeks for the show, and there seems to be an abundance these days, or certainly manufacturers reacting quickly to lightweight, I'd call them boondocking trailers between the Nobo, the Geo Pro. There's a new one out from a couple of new ones from Forest River coming out, but they're designed to be in the boondocking, larger axles, wider treads. Talk a little bit about that. We've seen that with the Class B, so now it's kind of moving its way over to trailers. Have you been doing any testing of those, or what do you think that market is?
Yeah, so it seems to be very popular out west, especially that people want to go out, and it's a millennial thing, I think, to a large extent. So they want to be able to go out in the National Forest Service lands and national parks and things like that with a trailer that can put up with going off the grid for a period of time. And so these units are being designed to, bushwhack a little bit. The Sonic X was our RV Business's RV of the year. That was probably the most interesting one, or one of them at Open House. It had a clear source slash NDW, no dirty water filtration and water drafting system. So it can actually draft water from a static source. So, a lake, a puddle, a bucket, whatever. I've
heard of draft beer, but I haven't heard of draft water.
Well, anybody in the fire service knows about drafting. So you take a fire truck up to a pond or river stream, and it pulls the water up. And so the first time
you don't have all the water with you,
you can, but if you run out, you can certainly draft it with this filter system. They say that you can draft it from a lake or whatever, and it will not only filter it, but the no dirty water system oxygenates the water. It filters it and kills anything that's in it. So
that's amazing.
Ozonator is what I was trying to think of. I was working on the term. So it ozonates the water, and which kills everything in it, and you can use it. And then the same thing goes if you have like remember they used to have those portable bladder tanks you could put in the back of your pickup truck, filled with water. They had them years ago. I haven't seen one in a long time, but if you had something like that, why you could go and hook up, and the water pump in the trailer would pull water from that tank instead of its onboard tank and bring it in, and you can fill your onboard tank, or you can just use it for a water source. So the only other time I've seen that is with Oliver travel trailers. They had that whole drafting system built in, not necessarily the pump or the filter system, but they had their pump system set up that way, which was pretty cool.
And Winnebago's got the hike. There's probably close to 5 or 10 of them out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, again, for small families or young couples, especially that are going out there in the boondocking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Winnebago hike has got an interesting metal frame over the whole unit that you can put Thule pods and things on and secure stuff to it all over the outside of it. So not only is it sort of protecting the unit, but it's also allowing you to put all your outdoor adventure gear on it, which is pretty sweet.
Bikes, kayaks, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Something else that seems you had it on a couple of your covers that you sent me. They seem to be rising in popularity. Is the Super Cs? And this is the new Newmar unit, but several manufacturers have them out there. Is this eating into Class A sales? Or are these people that are new to the market that want this type of, the front engine type vehicle? What do you think? Super Cs make a lot of sense. We tested 3, and I think I sent you a picture of, we put the 3 together when we were testing at the Elkhart campground. And so we did the Newmar, we did a Jayco Integra unit, and then we did the Dynamax
DX3. And I did 2 of the tests. Bob Livingston did the Jayco, which is coming up in motorhome. So we did 3 for the year because it is a big deal. There's a lot of people going to that design, and it makes a lot of sense. So you're taking this instead of building a chassis that's dedicated to it. And the thing about a pusher is, and I owned a Monaco Diplomat back in the day, and when something breaks in it, you got to go through the, mechanics probably go through the inside of the unit, right, to go back and fix the diesel. And there's sometimes parts that are hard to get, whatever else. This is a true medium duty truck. So these Freightliners have a lot of capacity. And so you've got huge cargo carrying capacity, huge towing capacity, up to 30,000 pounds of towing capacity. And so the handling and driving of them is just fantastic. So it isn't necessarily the same boaty ride that you might get with some higher end Class A's. Very responsive, tight turning radius. And heck, it's just a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, you get to drive, you're basically driving a semi.
Did you take it out on 90?
What's that?
Did you take it out on 90?
I did. I did. We took it out for some different photo shoots, and I got an opportunity to drive all three of them. And they were all on basically the same chassis, but they were a lot of fun. They great.
One of the things that Claude Donati told me at what's the company?
Nexus. They've got a couple.
Was that people like it from the service perspective because you don't have to have that grimy tech, and they're not grimy people, but they deal with grease.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Lifting your bed up to get to the grease. This way here, they really don't even have to enter the unit.
Just get behind the driver's seat, and a lot of times they'll just put a plastic bag over it, just like your car dealer, and they never have to go in the living area. And any truck guy can fix it. So that's a Freightliner truck. Every truck guy, go to any Freightliner shop, you stop at a Flying J or a Pilot or whatever that has the truck service. If you need something, they're going to be able to help you out.
No.
Yeah, they'll work on that versus the Class A.
Class A's a lot of times they won't.
They don't want to do it.
Yeah. Now, Chris, what about MSRPs on the three that you guys looked at? Because they look like Class C's. They are, in fact.
Yeah.
Well, that
price tag is a little bit different.
Well, that Newmar is up around 500,000, right, Chris?
Yeah, they're in that. They're 350 and up. Yep. I would say for MSRP on those. Yep. And the thing about it is there's different levels of them. So you can get them that are a little bit more basic, a little more entry level, or you can go full deluxe. That DX3, absolutely gorgeous unit. It was decked out. The Newmar Superstar was great. They've since come out with another model that I haven't seen yet, and I'm not sure where that fits in. If it's a higher level or a lower one, or on the same plane, I'm just not sure.
I think it was more expensive than the first one they came out with.
Yeah. So it's there's different levels of them, and then there are companies like Show Hauler that, especially over the road truckers. They've had the same truck for a long time, and there were these folks down in Florida. We did a little feature on in Motorhome. Ann Eichenmuller has a classic RV column in Motorhome, which is just fantastic, especially for a history buff like me. And she finds people these classic RVs, and these folks. He was a truck driver, owned a trucking company for many years, and he had one Kenworth that was his favorite, and he put I don't know, million some miles on it. And then he decided to retire. He sent it to Show Hauler, and they built a motorhome out of it. And, so he's now living in the truck that he drove 1 million miles,
it can go another million.
And it easily. Yeah. So the cab's a little tight. It wouldn't be my choice, but
are they easier to go around curves because you're behind the wheels? You're not over the wheels. Like many times in a standard Class A, you're actually sitting in front of the wheels. So how you go into a turn and everything like that is different.
It is a little bit different, right? Yeah, it is a little bit different. And I wouldn't say it. It's more comfortable for most people. They're used to driving a vehicle that has the wheels out in front of you. I can tell you that it is these rigs were super maneuverable. So one of the places we do photo shoots is the First Baptist Church property in Elkhart, which is a beautiful piece of property. And the grounds are just amazing. And so they have a beautiful winding drive going in, which is what you see here with the DX3. And then in the back, they have these big parking lots, but they have islands and trees and things. So, we'll go back there and we'll do some driving maneuvers with them, and I can get these right around those islands and make a sharp turn, no problem. I mean,
of course, you do make the appropriate donation to the church when you're done.
And we always make a donation of them, and they have been fantastic to us over the years. So.
Let's catch up on. They're sitting here listening to us, but I think they're enjoying it. Jerry says, great if you're towing a big trailer for horses or a race car. Talking about the Super Cs, absolutely. Yeah. Like I say, I mean, easy 20 to 30,000 pounds.
Sure. So race cars or the portable garages, a lot of full timers will have a double decker trailer, which is basically the same as a race trailer for their personal garage or whatever. Yep. I've seen them with big boats, where they have a speedboat or some other big boat that they like to tow along. So, it's good for any of those kind of heavy loads.
Bob,
Walter says Super Cs usually have a better turning radius than most pickups.
Well, it's
Yeah.
that. I put my truck up against them, but then Class A, then a similarly sized Class A, yeah,
Definitely, yeah.
That I would buy.
Remember, Walter's an engineer, as he said a couple posts up. Interesting fact: he's a member of the Society of Automotive Engineers and has been one for many years.
Oh, see, he's
That
dipping
means
his dipping his hands into everything there. All right, Maria's going to look forward to looking at the Super Cs in Tampa. I might see you down there, Maria. I'm definitely 99% sure I'm going down to Tampa this year. Jerry Plant, this is a mine's bigger than yours syndrome.
The Super Cs.
The Super Cs?
The Super Cs. I hope he's talking about the Super Cs.
I don't know, though.
I used to say,
you're talking about Super Cs.
Yeah, I drove one of the early Dynamax, and that was on the Columbia chassis, Freightliner Columbia back in the day, and it was nice. They're a lot more refined now, and I think that there are definitely some pluses to doing a Super C, and they're not the only Super Cs. So, when you're looking at the Freightliners and stuff like that, those certainly are. The Jayco Seneca things like that are on the
GMCs.
On those. But then you also have the ones that are on the Ford Super Duty, the Ram 5500 chassis. A lot of times they're 4-wheel drive. That's still considered a Super C, on those diesel truck chassis.
Right.
So they're a little more than, again, a regular Class C motorhome. But
you got international out there too, but that's more in the Freightliner range.
The international, yeah.
Dropping down to the 550s or the 650s that they're building on.
Audrey sent us a link, Bob. We can't tell what it is, but Audrey, just so we don't get in trouble, tell us what is that link. I don't know if it'll be live, if people can link it, but tell us what you're talking about. A friend sent you a picture of this. Very interesting.
Oh, I think he was talking about towing 35,000 pounds with a pickup truck. Yeah. I think the deal with that.
I'll bet that one that Audrey has, the one that's been going around on the. Did you see it? The Ford 7. It's on the Ford 750. It costs $1.7 million. Has been making its way around Facebook the last couple of days. I don't know who makes that unit. It didn't. It wasn't Earth. I don't think it was Earth Roamer, but somebody had one on the 750. But
probably a SEMA truck. The SEMA builds. There'll be a couple of those, Super C off-road Earth Roamer kind of expedition vehicles.
Interesting. You had a couple of fifth wheels there on a couple of your covers. It seems like that's. I won't say it's growing, but it's certainly popular, and they seem to be making them bigger and better. And we got, the guys from Heartland, Coley, Brady, and the Brady boys were left, and they're building out that fifth wheel for Alliance RV. They just delivered their first one. Is that what she sent? Oh, that's that
on tracks.
That was a truck camper on the tracks. Okay, that's not the one I was thinking of. Okay, but it looks like Alliance might be trying to go after Grand Design in terms of the luxury. They're definitely building luxury fifth wheels, but there's a lot of luxury fifth wheels. I think we're going to see a lot of them in the show. Mm-hmm. So popular. What should they look for in fifth wheels?
So again, like I mentioned, the engineers have been thinking a lot out of the box on their designs. So we've seen some very interesting things like open floor plans where a Keystone Sprinter has a fifth wheel where the front kitchen is open to the living room completely, and in the center is a wrought iron rail and a bench that you can sit at and eat and look out. And there's a similar kind of setup with the 3-level fifth wheel. A number of manufacturers have those with the raised rear section as well as the raised front section.
Right, I like those.
Yeah, they're nice, and
they even have the kitchens up top now.
So one or the other. So they'll have the kitchen either in the back or in the front, and they'll have the bedroom in the back or the front or the living room. So they've managed to scramble that up quite a bit.
The beauty when you raise both well, the front's going to be raised, but when you raise the rear, then you get this increased cargo capacity underneath.
You get cargo space. I don't want to say cargo capacity. You need to look at that, carefully for each unit. So, what the cargo carrying capacity of the unit's going to be.
Well,
There's people out there that are tight. So
yeah.
You guys just brought up a phenomenal point there that I think is worth pointing out again, especially for the people that don't necessarily own a unit. And it's because there is space for storage, it doesn't mean you can fill every space. Am I oversimplifying it or undersimplifying it? But there's some of these fifth wheels with you could put a bedroom in that area underneath the you know what I mean, where you hook up.
Undersized storage area, right. The basement storage or whatever you want to call it.
So
absolutely.
Space, but not necessarily capacity.
Describe capacity, but some of them have great capacity. I mean, I don't think I could ever fill my Montana up to overload it. I mean, it's just got a lot of excess capacity. But the bigger units that they build and things like that, you just have to look at it. Some of them do. The higher end fifth wheels, they're going to have a heavier gross vehicle weight. You need to look. It's just something that you need to look at.
Okay.
Walter's got a great question, and this is going to, it's going to come up a lot, and I'm sure Randy Murray's got some views on this too. I think we all do. But Walter says, "What are you hearing from users about the newer control everything from your phone one control systems? I actually helped someone rewire his fiber so he had light switches in addition to the tablet because using the tablet was too much work or inconvenient." The only thing I disagree with, Walter, is your last sentence. If somebody thinks that working off a tablet is inconvenient, then there's something wrong there.
And Bob, what I'll say to that is it depends on the interface. So if it's a super simple interface and you have to log into it every time that you're going to do something with your tablet or your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever it is you're using, then that can be a pain in the neck every time you got to turn a light on or off. And so I get that. And so there has been a move to change some of those systems. And people have been complaining about it. I've talked to people. We don't get a lot of letters about it. And maybe now we will.
Well, it's kind of relatively new, too. I mean,
well, no, they're not that new. The ASA in command has been out for a while, but in the trailers and even in the trailer space, I mean, Coleman travel trailers had the in command light for a while. So even down in stick and tin, there were multiplexing systems out there. But in the trailer space now, there's a lot more players. So you've got Lippert One Control, you've got Firefly, you've got Precision controls, and as well as in command from Jensen, ASA.
I got to put this one. I got to stop you there and put this one up. It sounds like something John or I would do.
I can definitely see that.
Well, Jerry, you get them all down there, don't you, Jerry? Oh my God.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because the thing that I was going to ask is how much electronics is too much electronics? And now
right? You ask a millennial, they'll say there's never too much electronics.
Never too much.
But here's one of the things that they're doing. So we were talking a minute ago about, okay, there's people saying, geez, I want to switch. I want to be able to go to the wall and turn on lights without getting my smart device out. So they're putting in switch panels. A number of years ago, I did an article for Family Motor Coaching where I went down to Millennium Coach in Florida, and they build out Prevost conversions. And so I got to go out and play with a $2.5 million motorhome. And in those days, they all had multiplexing systems. They had the Savant system, and they had all these different things. And they were globally connected and all these sort of things. And this was way back then. We're now looking at that technology in almost entry-level RVs. And that's where the technology has come. What they're doing now is people saying, geez, I want switches. They're putting in the lighted switch panels. So each switch has a numerical address, and it's all programmed in, and they push the button and the lights come on. You press and hold it and it dims the lights and things like that. And so that's very high end kind of function that you're seeing in almost all motorhomes, and you're seeing it in a lot of trailers as well.
I mean, I've seen some
even most of the Class Bs have it too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the ones we've tested recently have had some level of that, some level of multiplexing.
But Bob, that means you're getting very lazy if you can't get up from a Class B and change it. I mean, that is the epitome of laziness.
Yeah. Well, there's more function to it than that. The global connection piece of it is very interesting. You can be monitoring your RV from, if you go into a fair or you go into a restaurant or whatever your deal is. I think that's very that kind of connectivity is very valuable for pet owners. It's very valuable for full-time RVers, where it's their home, so they can control heating, ventilation, air conditioning. That Chevy truck and that Montana were actually tied together. So ASA in Command and General Motors now have a tie-in, so that if you have their higher end stereo system and you have a smart device, they all link together, so you can actually control certain things of the trailer from the radio head in the truck, which is very interesting. So you can start your generator, you can turn your air conditioning on, adjust the temperature, you can check your tank levels. Obviously you're not going to run your slide outs while you're driving down the road, but there's things that you're going to be able to do. And speaking to the engineers of some of these things, really they're just developing more and more stuff for them. The sky's the limit.
Walter put this up probably in jest, but he probably knows that they're pretty close to it because they're licensing Alexa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's easy for them to do and put back in there now.
And it's there already. Actually, you can program.
Alexa, okay. Alex, dump the blade.
If you have the electric dump valves, there's absolutely no reason you couldn't do that.
Right.
Audrey says, and I have to leave a window unlocked for when the damn door locks us out.
So that's another thing that we've seen this year, and we did a project with Global Locks in Elkhart, which we had in Trailer Life, and so there's two big things that are out there now, and some of them have been around for a while, but they're making their way into the aftermarket. One is key-alike. So we've been able to buy RVs now for a few years that all the locks on the unit are keyed the same. So you have one key that opens everything. Paddle locks, thumb locks, entry doors, things like that. And then also the power combination locks, where you can type in a key code, you have a remote control, or you can even control them with an app. And these systems are also now available in the aftermarket. So let's say you have a higher end fifth wheel or motorhome that doesn't have this and you want it. It's actually a pretty straightforward process to go through and change all the locks out. And you can also, with global system, at least, you can go and actually rekey them. So
I just want this simple campfire with s'mores and my Jack Daniels. Why are you making my life so complicated?
We have not talked about the internet yet.
Too much technology. Just go camping, Mark says.
So we talked about Togo before. We haven't brought up Herion. We haven't brought up the rest of WineGuard stuff. We haven't brought up Wi-Fi Ranger. Those are all things that you're seeing on units now. It's a very, very big option. And we boost cellular boosters because people use cellular internet and they need to boost to get to a cell tower. So those things are available, of course, in the aftermarket, but you're seeing them or seeing RVs prepped for them out on the lots.
And so you're also seeing a lot of compressor type refrigerators. Dometic's got them. Vitrifrigo's got them, Norcol's got them, Evercole's got them, Furion's I think just brought one out too.
Those are the damn flux refrigerators, yeah. So that's another big change, and you're seeing those all the way down in trailers. Vitrifrigo's a little bit more of an advanced system generally. They come from the marine business, so you'd have the compressor unit mounted somewhere else in the boat, and they would run refrigerant lines up, and you'd have drawers or door boxes or whatever that would have the that would have your functionality. A lot of these other guys now are using these 12-volt compressors, and they're not all they're not all created equal. So one of the things you really want to look at if you're shopping a unit that has one of these is look at the amp draw for the for the 12-volt refrigerator. If you're going to be out dry camping a lot, that's going to make a difference to you. If you're just taking the unit out, you go to a campground with hookups, it's not going to make any difference to you. Because your charge line from your trailer or whatever from your engine and your motorhome is going to make more than make up for whatever amp draw there is in that.
Chris, you got to admit, we have a damn good audience. I mean, you're on shows all over the country, but this is a good audience because they give us talking points that Bob and I can totally come unprepared. And we know that our audience.
What do you mean could?
I just looked at I'm just looking at Walter's last thing. That's pretty funny. Yeah. It comes out with an alarm. Alexa comes out and talks to you. It tells you that and then tells you a joke. It's like,
I can't believe I can't believe we're at 7:56, and I got 2 more slides that I have to show.
We do this quickly, and then we'll get into that.
Quickly.
We'll wrap it. But again, thank you so much, folks, for taking time from your busy schedule to watch this show live. And even if you're watching it on replay, take the time to look on your screen. Somewhere they'll be there, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a desktop, whatever. There'll be a share button. Just hit that share button. Share it with people all over the RV world and those that aren't in the RV world. And we might be able to entice some new people to join us as we go RVing.
Right. And I'm not sure if you can read these, but our first week winner was Estelle Drew from New Hampshire. And this week was Kevin Braley from Barnstable. So those tickets are going in the mail this week. I just got them, guys. So if you're on, you'll be seeing those early next week. And then we have an announcement. Go ahead, John. I'll let you do this.
Yeah, folks, we figured that you probably didn't want to join us on Christmas night or New Year's night. And also, we didn't want to take 2 weeks off because there's so much stuff going on. So for the next 2 weeks, we'll be on Mondays. So we'll be on the 23rd, which is 5 days from now, and then 7 days from that on December 30th. And we'll have great shows, live shows, no repeats, and
right.
Adjust your schedule. And even if you want to watch it, even if you can't watch us live, then come back Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. You'll be able to watch the show by then. But my guess is that, you know what, as I look at who's watching this show, we have a family-oriented crowd, and I know that they'll be wanting to spend time around the Christmas tree with their family and friends. And
and we'll go back through in case we didn't. I'm with Mark Pope.
Great show, gentlemen. What, that part, or let's just go camping?
Yeah. Any close? I can't believe how quickly these hours.
I know, this hour went really quickly.
Any things we may have left out, or that you want to throw in at the end, Chris? Or
if you could put back up the trailer life, the last one that you had up with the 2020 models. So our February issue, we worked pretty hard on this, is a review. That's the RV Buyer's Guide. We're close.
Okay. Right. Oh, I know the one you want.
Yeah. So we have a very good review of all the new units for 2020 that we got. We worked with the folks over at RV Business on that coverage. There you go. And so that's going to be hitting store shelves and RV shows and whatnot probably the second week of January. And so we put a lot of effort, the whole team did in that. And so you pick that up, you're going to see a lot of the new stuff for 2020 in there.
So it'll be a good primer for them to do a little homework before they come to the show on the 24th. And our show, we have 2 shows, 24, 25, 26, the Boston show and the Hartford show the same weekend, so they can pick these up, do a little homework, pick up the Buyer's Guide. Now, note of caution is we always have to tell people, these shows, the dealers bring what they think are going to be their best sellers. So the niche products will not be there. And quite honestly, some of the new products won't be there because what you see in the magazine may not be delivered to the dealers yet. There are units. Every year we run into this where we have dealers who want to bring the very latest and greatest, and it's literally delivered to them 2 days before they show up at the hall or it shows up 2 days after, and it doesn't get in the hall.
Although, Bob, I think it's important to say, just like we did on Rolling on TV last year, when you're going to a show, always check the show website a few days before. And in most cases, Bob, am I correct here? We will tell you what, at least the brands that the various retailers have, and we may even have the specific units. So
no, we're not doing units anymore, but we will. We're collecting them. I've got most of them. They're going over to Paragon. They'll be up on the site. They'll be in the program. But it'll be the manufacturer and the product line, and whether or not they're showing travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, or whatever. So you'll have that when you get into the program, but you'll be able to see that on site beforehand also.
Hey, and you can always call the dealership beforehand and say, are you bringing so-and-so unit to the show?
Yep. And Chris mentioned the Sonic X, and that was Man's RV's first sneak peek. They will have the Sonic X at the Boston show.
Awesome.
It's sitting on the lot right now. However, if somebody walks in with a check, they want that unit. They want it before January 24th, then we're going to be out of luck. But right now, Jeff and Caitlin are planning on bringing that to the show.
And we should also tell people that throughout the month of January, we'll be previewing, going to the individual dealers that are coming and talking with the owners and the managers, and letting our viewers here know what's going to be at the show.
We will do that, and we'll be continuing the sneak peeks. We're on our second round. Chris, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on. You're welcome back anytime.
Love it.
Next time, I'll probably have to introduce John before I introduce you.
We'll take turns. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody, and a Happy New Year.
All right. Have a good Christmas and New Year. And don't forget, we'll see you next Monday, not next Wednesday. We'll close it out. Good, John.
Have a great day, everybody. Merry Christmas as well.
Take care. Good night.